happening? What's happening? What's happening? It is Riot Starter TV. We're in the building. We are in the building. Come on in, come on in, come on in. I know some of y'all tapping in and y'all like, man, I can't believe you started on time. You know how we do. We be on that RPT time, Revolutionary Pacific time. How about that? It is always an honor and a pleasure to have you all join us here on the platform on Black Power Media. And one thing that we make an effort to do is to deliver. And that is why when it comes to Riot Starter TV, I want to make sure that we give you what you need. I want to make sure that we keep that revolutionary fervor. I want to make sure that we pay homage to not only the ancestors, but to our OGs. And when I say OGs, I'm talking about original guerrillas, our elders, those freedom fighters who put in work before us. We say that we respect the dead and we fight for the living, because so often we talk about the ancestors and we wait until those fighters transition and then we continue to call on them. So we like to give our revolutionary flowers to our freedom fighters while they're here on this planet. And tonight, it's no different. It's no different. I want to start off by saying definitely, salute to the chat. Big up to all the people out there that's checking us out, all the folks who have been consistent with respecting our work and our efforts, all of the organizers, all the freedom fighters. Shout out to all those brothers and sisters who are behind the wall right now, those who are able to hear our message and those who aren't able to hear our message. We salute you, especially those who put in that work. Without further ado, I wanted to bring on a guest today that can properly drive home what it means to be a freedom fighter, right? This particular brother is a brother who I'm gonna go on record as saying one of the brothers whose poster I had on the wall. We had a poster that said "Set the Captives Free." Shout out to my man Kazi Torre out in Boston, because he gave me my latest bundle about 20 years ago. But he's one of our freedom fighters who we were fighting for decades. And there was a period in time when not too many brothers and sisters were coming from behind the wall. And so much so that many of our comrades became demoralized because they figured, they're like, man, are they ever going to come home? This particular brother right here, he was locked up in 1971, August of 1971, during Black August, pretty much 8 months after my birth. He was locked up for from the time I was 8 months old until the time I was going on 50, damn near my 50th birthday. He spent all of that time. I want to remind you that I'm 51 going on 52, to just put it into context. That's how long this brother was behind the wall. And he came out. He didn't say no mas. He didn't wave no white flag and say I quit. He said, okay, where that work at? Because we're not free. Now, many of you are scared to pass a flyer out. Some of you are afraid to even let people know that you watch us on this program because you think that someone may think bad of you or whatever the case is. But I want to welcome this brother who is a veteran Panther, veteran member of the Black Liberation Army. He's an author, a freedom fighter, and I'm proud to call him a comrade. Tonight, I want to welcome you all to Jalil. Welcome, Jalil Muntaqim. How you doing, comrade? How's everything rolling? We have you on mute. Let me take you off that mute. Hit that button.
We just mentioned we technologically challenged, so that just goes to prove the point, right? Assalamu alaikum, peace. Habagani, Jambo, paz, whatever your language is, I speak to you in peace and solidarity.
No
it's
doubt.
important that we talk. It's important that we greet each other in the capacity that we can, in the language that people are involved from, in as much as we try to internationalize our struggle, trying to ensure that people understand what we're going through here in the United States, in the belly of the beast, is understood by those who are fighting against the U.S. imperialism white supremacy and colonialism, neo-colonialism around the world. We have to recognize that we have to be in solidarity with one another, regardless of our struggle, because we're fighting a common enemy. Right? A common enemy is U.S. imperialism, Zionism, and white supremacy. And so, as long as we can be able to put forth those ideas, put forth that kind of greetings to the world, hopefully they will reciprocate and give that same kind of love, revolutionary love, and greetings back towards us. Peace and solidarity.
No question, no question. I appreciate you coming out swinging in the tradition of the people where we come from, right? Yeah. So I also want to point out, and Jalil, he just mentioned that behind the scenes we were talking about how we were technologically challenged, and and he proved that point. Like I said, he came in on mute. He like, yeah, this is how we do. But I also want to say that Jalil, he came out on our program Renegade Culture. For those of you who check us out on Renegade Culture, on our 100th episode, Jalil made his debut on podcast. So it was his first podcast that he came out on, was Renegade Culture. So we're happy to have him on here today. And today is another special day. Today is actually the day that he was born. So we wanted to salute Baba Jalil on his birthday. Because today you turned what, 35?
Yeah, 35 for the second time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all good.
No
35
doubt.
plus for the second time. So it's cool.
No doubt.
I'm in good shape, man. I'm in good health. You know what I mean? 71 years old. And after spending nearly 49 years, almost 50 years in prison, and coming out here and now just doing what I do now. Continue to contribute.
No doubt.
To the overall struggle.
No doubt. And it's beautiful because actually, correct me if I'm wrong, this is actually your second birthday from behind the walls. Is that correct? Since
that's correct. Yeah.
Locked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my second birthday. Yep.
Yes. So he's been out 2 years. You were unleashed in 2020. What was that? What was the date?
It was December 6th.
December 6th.
Yeah, December 6th. They took me out of prison in Buffalo and escorted me to the P.O.'s office. And as soon as I got the P.O.'s office, he put a ankle bracelet on my ankle, a monitoring bracelet on my ankle. And I had that on for 6 months before they took that off. And I'm still under parole supervision now. So I'm still under the yoke, but I'm doing the work.
You're still rumbling. Now, I didn't realize it was actually December 6th. So to rewind a little bit, I said that you was locked up from the time I was 8 months. You were actually locked up to the time I was I turned 50 the day before you was released.
Okay. All right.
December 5th, 2020. Right. So so from 8 months to 50, this brother was was behind the walls, and we're absolutely delighted and happy to have you here. I want to get started because oftentimes we take for granted terminology. We take for granted, the movement, the struggle, our liberation struggle, our people struggle, and it's just like everything is just like kind of cliche or just like some chatter, right? But I want to ask you, for folks who are not familiar with you, what brought you into our movement? What was, and how old were you when you decided that, that you wanted to make some change in the lives of African and colonized people?
Well, I'll try to be as succinctly as I possibly can. I was raised in a household by my mom, and my mom, who was an African, she's a student of African dance. And as a student of African dance, she used to teach the African dance to myself and my younger sister. And a part of that, in terms of teaching us African dance, she also told us that we are African, right? So I was raised in the understanding, the culture of knowing that my identity as being that of an African descendant. And I wasn't a Negro, I wasn't a colored person, I wasn't a black person, I was African, all right? And so that was my mindset growing up. And then naturally, during the Jim Crow era, I had one incident, because during Jim Crow, we couldn't ride the bus, and we had to ride the bus in the back of the bus. Right? We couldn't ride in the front of the bus. So one day I was 9 years old. I decided I'm going to sit in the front of the bus with the white folks. Right? So that's what I did. And the bus driver stopped the bus and said, take my black ass to the back of the bus, right? And one white woman stood up and said, no, you can sit up here with me. And that's what I did, right?
Wow.
And I sat up there with her until she got to a bus stop, because he didn't want to have no problem with no white woman, on the bus, about no
Right.
black kid,
Right.
right? And so once she got on her bus stop, she got off the bus, and the bus driver turned around and told me to take my butt to the back of the bus, right? And I stood up, looked around, see if it was any other white woman, a white person, right? A white person in general, right? Who would come to my aid and let me sit up front. None of them did, right? And so I told them I went to the back of the bus. But that was a grave lesson for me at the age of 9, that there are laws that people adhere to, but they know morally and ethically those laws is wrong, right? But because they are law, right, and also maybe due to their own socialization, perhaps of being racist and white supremacist, right, either consciously or unconsciously, right, they will not rebuke the law, right? And so it also informed me that there are some people who have the courage, the moral uprightness, right, and ethical principles to say they will rebuke the law. They will fight back. And this white woman at that time indicated to me that those individuals do exist. And so that was a good lesson for me at the age of 9. By the time I turned 16, I decided I want to become a part of the Black Panther Party. And I joined the Black Panther Party at the age of 16 and was really involved with them in turn by the time I was 18, and was recruited into the Black Underground, the BLA, right? Became known as BLA. And by the time I got 19, they finally captured me for a host of activities I was engaged in from coast to coast, and they put me in penitentiary, the penal slave system, for 49 years.
Wow. So and this is important because you're saying, okay, I joined the Black Panther Party at you said 16.
16, yeah.
And you recruited into the BLA at what year?
About 18.
18.
Yeah, late 18 years of age, I was recruited into the Black Underground.
Wow. And by 19,
I was captured.
You was captured. And you spent from age 19 to
69? Going on my 69th birthday. 2 weeks before my 69th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. I was released on October, on October 6th, and then my birthday was October 18th. So yeah.
Wow. That's wild. I mean, just looking at it from that particular angle, because not only did you serve all that time, but you're talking about from the age of 19. That's like, I mean, that's so many people have come and gone during that time period, but you literally grit your teeth and went into manhood, behind the walls, and still came out. I would like to say unscathed, and I can recall that there were challenges in you being released. It wasn't just that you folks said, okay, boom, he served his time or whatever. You had a number of parole hearings that you was denied. Can you speak on that, please?
Yeah. I was denied 13 parole hearings. I was released on the 14th. I was eligible for parole in 2002. That was my first parole hearing in 2002. I didn't get the release until 2020, right? Wow. And as a result of that, I continued to fight. Every time they denied me because of the fight, so I received a couple of reversals. Went back to the parole board, they denied me again. So I ultimately was 13 parole hearings and released on the 14th. One of the reasons why they released me, I believe, is because prior to my going to the parole board, right, I had petition to the court, a habeas corpus petition to the court, right before COVID became an epidemic within the prison system, right? And I knew that the prison system had no way of really handling this thing called COVID. And so I petitioned the court to have me temporary release so that I would not get COVID. And then when they find out how they're going to structure and organize it, then I would come back to the penitentiary. The court granted it. Granted me a habeas corpus for temporary release.
Wow.
Right? And it was appealed. It was appealed by the Attorney General, Letitia James.
Yes, a black woman.
A black woman, right. Allegedly was supposed to be progressive when that's how she got into office. And then how they do, how the Negroes do, they get in office and they flip. Right?
Absolutely.
And so in the interim fighting the appeal, I caught COVID, right? And so fighting the appeal, I caught COVID. They had to send me to the hospital. I went to the hospital. I stayed in the hospital on oxygen for 5 days, right? On oxygen, and they shot me with all kinds of drugs in order to arrest this COVID, right? This is brand new. This is in March of 2020, I believe it was. Early on, right? In the pandemic. And so, so I caught COVID. Now, when the appellate court heard the case, well, they said this case is now moot because his original release of habeas corpus was for him to be out so he wouldn't get COVID. Now that he has COVID, right, this case is done. So I stayed in prison. I stayed in prison. They wouldn't let me go, although I had a court order. They wouldn't let me go. And then my next parole hearing was several months later. In the next parole hearing, they granted my parole.
Well, alhamdulillah that happened, because
yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we're not the COVID part.
But, okay, that's the point, my brother.
Nah, hey, I got it that same year as well, but mine was in November. So and I felt like I wasn't going to make it. Period. But
it was rough.
I don't know what they put in that first year, but nowadays folks be like, "Oh man, I had COVID last week and everything cool."
I guess that's due to the booster shots and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe
it lessens the severity of the disease. But if you brand new with it, shoot,
we
ain't no joke.
We was doing Tommy Hearn punches with it. So yeah, man. So I want to, because part of your case, there was a couple cases. You actually, if I'm not mistaken, was re-indicted while you was in prison. But I know that first I want to start off talking about the New York Three.
Right.
Who the New York Three was and how did that case come about, and then I want to make my way to the San Francisco 9 because of the fact that I understand that you was a part of that situation as well. But starting with the New York 3, how did that?
Let's clarify a few things. One, first of all, we began with the New York 5. It was 5.
New York 5. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All right. And at the first trial, there was a hung jury, and then at the second trial, they decided that they was going to dismiss the charges on two of the members of the New York 5 in order to concentrate specifically on the black guys. Right. There was two Latino Puerto Rican who's also part of the New York 5. So they were dismissed for lack of evidence, right? And then it was just me, myself, and Sheikh Noah, Herman Bell, and Sheikh Noah Washington, the three of us who stood trial. And in 1975, we got found guilty of murder of 2 police officers, and were sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Years later, about 30 years later, they decided they wanted to conjure new charges in the San Francisco case. 30 years later, and they rounded up 8 of us in Florida, New York, myself and Herman inside prison, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. And so they rounded up 8 Panthers and former members or veteran members of the Black Liberation Army, and decided they're going to charge us with a 30-year-old invasion. It was a invasion of a police station. Right, and a police officer was killed, and a clerk was wounded, and they said that these black guys who invaded this police station in retaliation for the assassination of Comrade George Jackson, right? And so 30 years later, they decided they're gonna have some evidence that they're gonna put us up. So they corralled us, found us all across the country, brought us to San Francisco, held us in prison, in jail for 2 years, solitary confinement for 2 years, right, to deal with this trial. And to end up, we plead out to probation, right, in order to get rid of it. Right, in order to get rid of the case, we plead out to myself and Herman. We plead out to probation for probation. He pleaded out to 3 years. I think 3 years time served, or 3 years prison time, and probation. I pleaded out 3 years. I didn't plead out. I said no contest. I said I'm not pleading guilty to anything. Right? If you're gonna charge me and gonna hold me in for these charges, then I'm pleading no contest. Right? And my agreement with them was that if I plead no contest, then you have to dismiss the charges on the other guys who were still being charged, right? And they agreed to that. So we come to find out the only thing they wanted was a conviction, right? That was it, right? And so The rest of the San Francisco 8 charges was dismissed, except for one person, Francisco Torres, who fought his own case, and eventually that charge against him was also dismissed. And so I got a 1 year time served and 3 years probation.
Now the crazy thing about that case, and I implore folks to check that out as well, because I had the opportunity to spend some time with some of your comrades from that case when they were working on the film dealing with the San Francisco 8. And I want to say rising power to John Bowman, who was definitely a good brother who was a part of that case as well. And just the way they talked to us about how they were tortured, how they had cattle prods stuck to their testicles, and sleep deprivation, and just all types of different waterboarding and typewriter bags and all types of craziness.
They did all that. And people should go to YouTube and find the Legacy of Torture, San Francisco 8 case, and look at that docudrama of the method that they used to torture us. The torture, not me necessarily. My torture was being held in solitary confinement for 2 years without any sunshine, no air, no clean air, nothing for 2 years. They held me in a place called the Dungeon. It's in a law book in San Francisco County Jail place, an area there that they call the Dungeon. So I was held there for 2 years. But at any rate, people need to look at Legacy of Torture, right? Look at that documentary, understand the vicious brutality and the racist savagery, right? These individuals call themselves law enforcement and working for law and order, right? What they do to our people. We know we have history of them doing that to our people. Remember the lynching tree, right? Remember how they used to cut off genitals and parts of the person they hung, right, as souvenirs. That kind of barbarity and savagery that they don't want to be taught in school. That's the reason why they're so upset about CRT, right? Because they don't want the truth to be told to their young people, so that young people to know the nature of their ancestors' barbarity.
Right. I want to point out too, before we move on, in speaking of that, talking to some of the comrades before from the San Francisco 8, one of the things they told us was how they were, like, literally someone was jogging down the street or walking down the street or whatever the case is, when the pigs vamped on them 30 years later for this 30-year-old quote unquote case. And I was told that some of the original cops who tortured them 30 years prior were a part of the contingency that vamped on them to bring them back to prison after they had raised families and moved on and went to different parts of the world and life and so on and so forth. The torture of not only them being tortured the first time, but to have your tormentors and your torturers come back 30 years later to capture you, that must be a hellified situation, man.
Oh, absolutely. And their intent was try to break us, and no one broke, right? Despite every effort that they tried to intimidate and use brutal practices on us to try to break us. No one broke,
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yes, sir. Now, one of the things that we always talk about, free them all, we talk about political prisoners, right? And from you, because again, I mentioned earlier, I'm like, man, you all were locked down so long that it almost seemed, like Tupac said, I seen the future and it's hopeless. Sometimes it seemed like it was hopeless, like, because we sat and we saw so many parole denials, from not only you, Sundiata Kohli, and shout out to him, who ended up getting out at, I think, 86 years old. You know what I'm saying? And so many others. You have Rochelle McGee, who is going on 60 years in prison right now. You know what I'm saying? But you were also one of the longest held political prisoners. Tell our audience, why is it important to support political prisoners?
Well, one of the primary reasons why it's important to support political prisoners is because you're supporting your own destiny. You're supporting your own legacy of resistance against white supremacy and capitalist imperialist exploitation of our people, right? Supporting political prisoners is to support our movement, right? Because that's who they represent. They represent the legacy of resistance and our struggle. Those are the individuals who are willing to put their lives and their bodies on the line, right, in their love for our people. So why would you not support political prisoners? That's the question that needs to be asked. Why would you not support political prisoners, right? When they represent the best interests of all of us, right? Those individuals, those are people who the enemy had decided they need to be removed from society, right? Because they are going against the practices of social order that is detrimental to Black people, right? And so in order for the superiority to exist, you have to have inferiority. And so therefore, locking up individuals who are fighting for our own degree of self-worth, self-value, our degree of our own humanity, our degree of our own value as a people, right? Locking them up, right, is to ensure that the conditions of inferiority stays in place, all right? Because we're the ones who are fighting against the inferiority, being treated as inferiors, right? Being treated as if less than human, right? In the social order that we now live in, the social order of white supremacy and capitalist imperialism. So why not support them? Okay, that's the question we need to ask. And the only reason why you would not support them because you don't understand the nature from which you have been traumatized as a result of 400 years of navigating a system of white supremacy. And you to a point where El-Haj Malik Shabazz once said in his message to the grassroots, who taught you to hate yourself, right? Because it's come to a point where you have internalized that hatred of yourself, right? And then therefore you are easily, as you see these young kids today, easily wanting to kill one of your own rather than those who oppresses us. All right, you're willing to engage in denial, right, of your own community's need for you to be a part of a struggle, right? Than the idea of being complicit in your own suffering, right? Knowingly or unknowingly. Many of those Negroes, they do it knowingly, but the majority of us, we are unconscious of how we are conditioned to support our own oppression, conditioned to normalize the traumatization of our own oppression, right? And that's one of the things that we have to really engage in terms of our struggle moving forward, right? We have to be able to develop the both the sociological, socioeconomic, and sociological and psychological conditioning for us to free ourselves. When I wrote my book, we have to become our own liberators, right? And Frantz Fanon informed us, he taught us, right? The way that we deal with our trauma, the way that we heal ourselves is by fighting back, right? Right. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's the book. That's the book, right? People have to read that book. That's a must read.
Mandatory.
Mandatory read, right? Yes, in order to understand the kind of colonial mentality and what the colonial mentality has to do, become a liberated mentality, right? That book definitely has a blueprint. And for us, my understanding, to engage in struggle is essentially to free yourselves. Free yourselves from the conditions of traumatization of white supremacy and capitalist imperialist exploitation.
Now, a couple questions based on what you just talked about, because you led into a few things. But one, I want to start off with because we started off talking about political prisoners. While you were behind the wall, you didn't just lay down and say, damn, I'm just going to ride my time out, or I'm going to think of a master plan. Let me see if I can, create some type of, system to get over or whatever. You said that you wanted to help to set the captives free. And one of the things you did was you co-founded an organization called the Jericho Movement. Can you talk to us about how that came about and what it is today?
Okay. The genesis of the Jericho March, which originally was called, came from the Republic of New Africa. Republic of New Africa every year used to have a march around Washington, D.C., around the White House called the Jericho March. And in 1966, they stopped doing it. No, it's not 1996, they stopped doing it. And I didn't understand why, because I felt it was necessary. And so in 1996, when they stopped doing it, I made out a call to our comrades saying that we need to resurrect the Jericho marches. My comrade Sophia Bukhari, Asif Bukhari, and my comrade Baba Herman Ferguson, rest in power, both of them, came to visit me while I was in Eastern Christian Facility, Napa Christian Facility, and they said, yo, Jalil, what you're proposing is right. We need to do this, right? But we're not going to be able to do it in the time frame that you are requesting, right? That you're urging us to do it. It will take a couple of years to build the kind of campaign movement that would be something sustaining and long lasting. So in 1998, we had the National Jericho March to Washington, D.C. And as a result of the National Jericho March, we evolved what we call the National Jericho Movement, the National Jericho Amnesty Movement. And it has been existing going on 21, almost 22 years now. It's been the premier organization that has been supporting the existence of our political prisoners and fighting for their release. Now, there's been various other organizations that have evolved over the years in support of that, but it's supposed to be, it should be known that the Jericho movement was one of the primary influencers, right, in support of political prisoners. Naturally, there's always been campaigns in support of our PPs. I want to release like Free Huey, the Free George movement, the Free Angela Davis movement, the Panther 21 movement. Those campaigns always going on. But in the same regards, we need to have something holistic, something broad enough to support all of our PPs, our political prisoners and political prisoners of war, and the Jericho movement to step up. And that's what we've been doing ever since.
Right on. And what you're saying cannot be contested because, you know, even with us, you know, with our organization, FTP movement, we fight for political prisoners, but we send folks to Jericho when it comes to it because of the fact that we know that, you know, you all have been consistent for decades. We're talking about almost 3 decades, if I'm not mistaken, you know, and, you know, it's necessary because it's always some updates and it's always everything from the folks' birthdays to, you know, a little bit of everything as far as how to write them when they moved, so on and so forth. There's consistency in it. So definitely salute to, you know, the Jericho movement and all the work that they've done and you've inspired them to do as well. You mentioned your book, We Are Our Own Liberators, and that's another necessary piece to have in your library when you're talking about freedom fighting and understanding. If you don't mind, give us a layout of what We Are Our Own Liberators is and what was the inspiration behind that.
Well, originally I wrote a I think 59-page essay called Liberation for North America. All right. And that was in 1979 that I produced that. And over the years, I began to write more essays, write more poems, more essays, and I began to compile them because it began to take shape, take some kind of form, right? And so I changed the name and called it We Are Our Own Liberators, right? Based upon one chapter of the book that is one of the essays. And what it does, it presents several things, right? How to organize, right? Revolutionary organizations, revolutionary leadership, what is a massive popular movement. But more importantly, I put forth what I call three-phase theory, right? Three-phase theory for national liberation. One of the things we've learned in terms of our struggle that there is no revolutionary movement without revolutionary theory. And so for me, it was important for us to have a revolutionary theory that comes directly from our own experiences, right? And so therefore, I put forward what I call three-phase theory for national independence. First phase, class struggle for national unity. Second phase, national unity for self-government. And third phase, self-government for national independence. And if you look at this theory as is laid out, you can see how each one builds towards the development of the next one, right? And each one, that one builds out to the next one, towards the idea of national independence and liberation. Also in the book, I put forth the idea that we need a national liberation front, right? And in the national liberation front, I call for Front for the Liberation of the New African Nation, Frolinan, right? And I laid down how Frolinan can be evolved first as a cadre organization and then evolve into a national front. One of the things that I espouse, that I propagate and promote, is the development of decolonization programs across the country. Decolonization programs. Now, where did that come from? Originally came from the idea of Black Panther Party had a program called Survival Programs Pending Revolution, right? Survival Programs Pending Revolution, right? And while I understand the need for the survival programs, I didn't see the need for that survival program to be pending a revolution because it makes it like it's separate from the revolution itself. All right, so therefore, my thinking is that we change the idea of survival programs to decolonization programs. Right. Now, when you change because language is very important. All right, and so if we understand the programs not being survival programs, but decolonization programs, I mean, we're decolonizing our minds and creating the means for which we can empower our community And that's a part of the process of revolution, right? So decolonization programs are programs very similar to survival programs, but they build towards the ideal that we are building towards a national liberation struggle, a national front, right? National liberation front. And so Frolinan is extremely important for people to read and study everything. It is a DIY, a do-it-yourself manual for building a cadre, from a cadre into an organization, right? And from a revolutionary perspective. And with the three-phase theory and the decolonization programs, and the principles and the key of one of the issues I make in the book, right, is that commitment is the key, right? And so if you're not committed, right, not on anything, if you're not committed, then you can't expect success, right? I don't care if you're dealing with a relationship. In a relationship of any kind, right, you have to be committed to the relationship in order for it to make it to work, right? And very similarly, you have to be committed to revolution in order for us to succeed. And so that is another principle that's in the book, right? I talk about also the issues of religion and revolution. And I promote the idea of Black liberation theology, okay? A lot of people don't understand what that is, Black liberation theology. We have been taught to worship a white, blue-eyed, blonde person as to be God, right? The impact of that in our psyche is tremendous, right? And so we need to figure out a way how to change that dynamic, right? Of essentially praying to white people or praying to a white person, right? And saying that is God, right? And therefore look around you and see everything that's pure and everything that's white and everything that's good comes from white folks. So what you gonna do? You bow down to white folks, okay? Whether you consciously or unconsciously doing so, right? And so we've been colonized in our thinking, right? This is part of the traumatization. This is what Carter G. Woodson said, the miseducation of the Negro, okay? And that's what they've done. They have created an idea and created a condition for which Black folks, in many instances, right, has normalized, right, their own oppression, right? All right, they're policing themselves and normalizing that oppression. You have Black folks saying, if you ain't hearing to what white folks are saying, then something wrong with you.
Right.
No, there's nothing wrong with me. Something wrong with you.
That's right.
And you don't understand what is wrong with you, right? You have been colonized in your mind, in your thing. I have a poem and also in the book called Outpost, right? And in that poem I'm talking about how the enemy has outposts in our minds, right? And as long as they have that outpost in our minds, he will be checking our thinking, right? Why is it important to check our thinking? Because thinking precedes action. How you think is a determining factor of what you're going to do, or your behavior. So if they have an outpost in our minds, right, checking our thinking, they can ensure us that we're going to check ourselves in terms of our own oppression, right? We will not rebel. We will not fight back. And the majority of us, they don't. We don't rebel. We don't fight back, right? We get along. We go along to get along, right? I think that's going to save our children, right? And it's unfortunate to a large extent that we have to teach our children. Right, what to do. We have to give our children what they call the talk. Right. Why do we got to give our children the talk? Right. We have normalized that. That's right. You know what I'm saying? That's part of our tradition. You know what I'm saying? That you got to give your kid a talk before you let him go outside, go out the door. No, that's not how we treat this. That's normalizing our oppression. That's preparing our kids. That's preparing our children to be oppressed. Well, this is how you got to become subservient to the police or subservient to any authority, even if they're racist, white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. Because no, that's not how you free. That's not how you free yourselves, right? And so we have normalized our traumatization. It's become part of our culture, right? And we have these Negroes, right? These bourgeoisie Negroes who feel compelled to ensure that we stay the straight and narrow as colonized mind, colonized mentality, colonized people. Right on. So the book speaks to those issues, right, across the board. We have to become our own liberators. Because if we don't, who else will? Without a doubt. Now I want to know because a lot of folks are saying is
is hard to find, and I got my copy. Some of y'all got to get a late pass, but I want to know, will it be re-released, or is it somewhere that folks, because I know folks in the chat want to know how they can get a copy. So do you know if it'll be re-released?
Yes.
Or
Go to put it in the chat. Go to blackdragonmme.com. One word. blackdragonmme.com. Right? blackdragonmme.com. One word.
No doubt. So y'all could thank me for that.
Hit that up and order your book.
Yes.
Right. Now, when you order your book, don't read it alone. Read it in a study group.
Yes.
Read it amongst the study group, because if you study the book in a study group, that study group will become a cadre. No doubt in my mind about that. It will become an organized cadre, and we're ready to roll. All right.
No doubt. And that's very important what you just said, because you get so many people talking about what they read. And when you read alone, you might not get a proper understanding of what it is that you're reading. That's why it's always good to go back and read something 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Wretched of the Earth, I must have went through that book probably a good 4 or 5 times myself, because each time you're going to have a better understanding. You talked about decolonization programs.
Excuse me 1 minute.
Okay, no problem. Okay. You're checking out the Riot Starter TV. I was about to say the wrong joint because we got so many programs and podcasts. We have Jalil Muntaqim on deck. We're definitely happy to have him on board today. Again, the brother did.
I'm back.
Nah, that's cool. And again, you just did it to Ruba, answer the phone in the middle of the interview.
Yeah, that's my cousin. That's my cousin, Abbas Muntaqim.
No doubt.
Right? Muntaqim. He has also program Hella Black.
We check him out. Definitely shout out. Yeah. Definitely salute to him. We got to bring him on board as well. I appreciate the work he's doing as a as a young G himself.
And no doubt about it. And he's promoting Frolinan. Right. He's a Frolinan cadre.
Right on. He's in the Bay, correct?
Yeah, in the Bay Area, yes.
Word up. Shout out to all the workers out there in the Bay. But I was saying too that we're talking about you were talking about the difference between survival programs and decolonization programs. We know that Huey said that this is a survival program is like something to get you to like a raft to get you to dry land. And that's important, because I see so many folks that confuse a Feed the People program with an actual program. You know what I'm saying? A program of decolonization. And we do that, but we often, when we're talking about a program like a Feed the People program, it's important for us to politicize folks as to why these particular programs even exist. It don't exist because we're looking to feed some bums. It exists because of the fact that the United States of America is a criminal institution, and they've robbed folks of their livelihood and their well-being, and folks suffer. So it's important that we're not just bagging up lunches and saying that we're just passing out food. The Black Panther Party, they started a Breakfast for Children program, right. And it was a political program.
That's right.
I heard, and I'm not gonna get off topic, but I heard one of these rappers talking the other day when they got in hot water about this whole Kanye business. He said that Nori was like, this isn't a political show. But the thing is that folks don't understand that everything in the United States of America, everything on this planet is political. The way we walk, the way we talk, the way we think, you know what I'm saying? The fact that what you just said a little while ago about preparing your children to be victims, pretty much, or hoping that they don't become victims, So I want to ask, and I appreciate, all your insight and the lessons. I want to go into last year. You were one of the facilitators on a conference, We Charge Genocide with the Spirit of Mandela. Can you kind of give us a overview of what the Spirit of Mandela is, and also what was this conference? What was this convention about, and why was it so important for folks to get involved and go back and check it out?
Yeah, very good, very good. I appreciate the question. In 2018, they had me locked up in solitary confinement for having taught a class in Attica Black History class in Attica, and I was teaching the class. This was an approved class. I was teaching the class from 1861 to 1966. And then when I got up to 1966, they stopped the program. Why? Because 1966 is the only thing you have to talk about. The only thing you have to talk about is the Black Panther Party. Black Panther Party came into existence in 1966. So they stopped the program, locked me up for 4 months, saying I was trying to teach these gangsters, right? The Bloods, the Crips, JDs, gangster disciples who was in the class. I was trying to turn them from a criminal mentality and gang mentality into a revolutionary mentality, right? Become revolutionaries, all right? Become militants. And so therefore they locked me up for that for 4 months. Now, there's lessons in there. One is that they don't want our people to not be gangsters, right? For as long as they believe that you can be a gangster, go back to the streets and continue to be a liability to our community, then they're for that. But if you try to teach our comrades inside prisons become upstanding members of our nation, right, and fighting for the well-being of our people, then they got a problem with that, okay? Because ultimately it means that we have to deny the existence of white supremacy. So anyway, so I was locked up in 2018, and I decided it was necessary to bring the international jurists back to the United States, right? We had done so back in 1981 with the UN, the petition campaign, UN Prisoners Petition Campaign to the United Nations that I started while I was in San Quentin. And so in 1981, we had international jurists come. They defined and determined that political prisons does exist in the United States. That was the purpose, right? So I asked for them to come back again. So I wrote a proposal while I was in solitary confinement. I sent out to Jihad Abdul Muhammad, who's the chairman of Jericho Movement, and he shared it with Sekou Odinga, who is the chairman of the Northeast Political Prisoners Coalition, and he shared it with another individual by the name Matt Myers, who's a head of one organization called Resistance in Brooklyn, and a few other organizations, international organizations, human rights organizations that he's associated with. And they decided to take my proposal and expand it to the ideas that we're going to bring the international jurists back, but we're going to bring them back for the purpose of raising the question of genocides. And that's what they did. So we had 9 international jurists come to the United States, and we had what we call the International Tribunal. It was held at the Malcolm X Betty Shabazz Memorial Education Center, right, which is the area that was the Audubon Ballroom, the transformed. There was the Audubon Ballroom, the place where Al-Haj Malik Shabazz was originally assassinated. So it was perfect tribute, perfect place to have this international tribunal. And after 3 days, 30 testimonies, 30 witnesses, right, and boxes of documentations, the international jurors found the United States, in fact, was engaged in the practice of genocides against Black, brown, and indigenous people in 5 charges. The 5 charges: police killings of Black, brown, and indigenous people. We know they be killing us. And they've been killing us since 1619 when they first brought us over there in Turtle Island, the original name of America, right? Mass incarceration, hyper incarceration. They know that they locked us up. Black, brown, and indigenous people lock us up more than they lock up anybody else on the planet. We have more people locked up in the United States penal system than any place else on the planet, right? And the majority of those individuals, a large percentage of those individuals being mass incarcerated are Black, brown, and indigenous people. They also found charges of genocide in regards to issues of political prisoners, not recognizing the fact that there has been resistance in this country, and those people who resisted white supremacy and resisted capitalist imperialism are in prison, have been in prison for their resistance, and therefore they qualify as being political prisoners. Fourthly, right, it's a question of environmental racism, right? We know that they corral or herd our people in areas where the land is polluted, the water is polluted, and this is one of the reasons why we are suffering for such things as diabetes, high-level diabetes, cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer, and lung cancer, and asthma, right, and hypertension, right? This is a result of the environment from which we are economically out of existence, right? These polluted areas, what we call environmental racism. And lastly, was the issues of public health inequities. White people live twice as long as Black people. Why is that? Why is that? How come white people live twice as long as Black people? Everything I mentioned earlier, right, including environmental racism, right? Mass incarceration, police killings, and etc., but also public health inequities, right? We don't receive the kind of medical services, all right, that we should be receiving, that white folks should receive, right? We don't receive the kind of prenatal care, right, that the white women receive, and for our children, our young women, black women, indigenous women, brown women don't receive those kind of healthcare provisions, right? And so therefore, when we look at the totality of what we have suffered, right, in this country, we can qualify that as genocidal. The international jurists have determined the United States has been engaged in genocides against black, brown, and indigenous people, and it's been a whiteout.
Right. I
don't say a blackout. It's been a whiteout. Right. You know how you make a mistake on a piece of paper and you white it out, right? Right.
Redacted. Right. Yeah.
It has been redacted. Right. News media ain't saying nothing about this. Right. The United States been found guilty of genocide against black, brown, and indigenous people. We got to take that in. We got to let people know that all around the world, right? The United States is guilty of genocide. Right. And so therefore our goal, our objective, moving forward, right? Talking about the spirit of Mandela, right? And its coalition, right? Moving forward, we build what we call a people's senate, right? Because we feel that we can no longer live in a social order and a society that has been engaged in the practice of genocides against us, right? If for any other reason, right, we can separate ourselves from that harm. Right. So they're harming us, they're traumatizing us, they're killing us, right? A slow death, right? In the last 50 years, our population in the United States has not grown over 13%. Between 11 and 13% our entire population in the United States, we are not growing, right? And the reason why we're not growing because there's the level of death to the level of birth, right, has become equal or stagnant, right? There's no growth in us or amongst us, all right? And they maintain that in order to continue the conditions of superiority, and a group of people are considered to be inferior, right? Inferiority, right? You have to have that difference, you have to have that separation, got to have that, right? In order for us, those who consider themselves to be superior, to live, we're talking about white supremacy, in order to maintain its order and maintain power. Okay, so we have now come to a new era in terms of our struggle, right? The new era in terms of our struggle is saying is this here: we can no longer live in a social order, socioeconomic or political order that has been engaged in genocides against black, brown, indigenous people. We got to get away from these people. They mean us no good. Right. Let's understand that. They mean us no good, right? Zero. Right, zero, right? They can't mean us any good in order to maintain the system of white supremacy. That's for them to treat us well, equal to themselves, is to deny white supremacy. Right. They're not gonna do that.
This like my father used to say, that's too much like right.
It's too much like right. It's a fact. That's a fact. And so therefore we have to start creating conditions to start creating a new a form of governing, right? Form of governing ourselves. And so we're gonna begin the process. We have began the process of building what we call the People's Senate, right? Coming out of the spirit of Mandela and the coalition that we've been working with. And we're gonna move forward, creating assemblies across the country, representatives of our movement across the country, and we're going to begin the process of how we're going to create a new socioeconomic and political dynamic towards not only our own liberation, but the liberation of black, brown, and indigenous people. We have to have national solidarity with our struggles in order to survive, because these people are murderers. They are murderers. They engage in mass murder around the world with a blink of an eye.
Without a doubt.
Millions of people off the planet, right? They killed 1 million people in 2 months in Iraq, and the world is silent,
right?
And the silence is complicit. The world is silent. 1 million people gone in 2 months, taken off the planet, right? And it's and again, it goes back. It goes long ways back, but this is their inherited practices in order to maintain the system of white supremacy. And what I'm saying to us, we're not going to be wiped out, right? We're not going to be annihilated like they did the Aztecs, like they did the Incas, all right? Like they tried to do the Cherokees and the Seminoles and the Creek, right? And the Sioux and other indigenous nations of that used to be roamed and owned this territory, total island, what we now call America, right? Majority of them is gone. Gone. You know what I'm saying? That's genocidal. And I'm saying we're not going to permit them to do that to us. No. We're going to divorce ourselves from them. Let's get away from them. We don't need them. We don't need them. They definitely, as much as they like to say they need us, they really don't want us.
Without a doubt, they don't. And that's the reality of it. You know, in the words of Michael Jackson, once he figured it out, they don't really care about us. You know what I'm saying? I know that recently, you've taken to the road. You've actually, you talked about the national fight, but I know you're just returning from your first trip overseas, if I'm not mistaken, to Greece, correct?
Yes, I was in Greece, Athens, Greece. Myself and my fiance, Valerie Hayes, we went to Athens, Greece. She's representing the Northeast Political Prisoners Coalition. I'm representing Spirit of Mandela in Jericho. And we both went over there and took care of some business. It was at the International Anti-Imperialism Forum. The International Anti-Imperialism Symposium. Right, and this supposed to have been going on for 20 years. They may have conducted some different parts of the country, different parts of the world, conducted symposium for the last 20 years, fighting against anti-imperialism. And so I was invited to come over, and we went over there and we made our presentation. I basically informed the world, right, that the United States have been engaged in genocide. Right, I informed the world the United States have been engaged in genocide against Black, brown, and indigenous people, and you, the international community, now have a right to point your finger at the United States and charge them for having engaged in the practices of genocide against Black, brown, and indigenous people every time the United States claim themselves to be the champion of human rights. Every time they try to charge another country with human rights violations, that country can turn around and point their finger at the United States. You have no moral authority whatsoever to talk about anybody else's human rights violations when you've been engaged in the practice of genocide against Black, brown, and indigenous people in that country. In this country, all right? And so this is what I told the world. And I also told the world, right, point blankly, some of them didn't like it, but they had to hear it, right, that the world will not be free until Black people are free.
That's right.
Period. They have to understand that. The world will not be free until Black people are free. When you look at the world and you see the status of Black people throughout, I don't care if you go to Australia or go to Germany. I don't care if you go to Brazil, or go to England, right? You find the same condition of Black people around the world, right? Rise up, Black people, you rise up the world. There's no doubt about that in my mind, right? So the freedom of Black people is the freedom of the world, period.
I'm glad you point that out because, we get caught up in, of course, there's class struggle and there's class issues, but oftentimes I see folks kind of when it comes to culture, and then when it comes to your Africanness or your Blackness, one of the things I notice a lot of people do, it's like they shy away from identifying themselves as African people, and it's almost like out of fear, like if I stand up and say I'm an African, it's almost like that's a revolutionary act in and of itself. So for you to go to one of the most traditionally oppressive and hellish places on the planet as well, one of the originators, they are
the originators of democracy, or the idea of democracy. Right? That's where the idea of democracy comes from, out of Greece, right? But we also know that Greece was taught by the Comedics. They were taught by the Egyptians, right? Everything they learned from Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle, they learned it from the Comedic people. They brought it back and whitewashed it, right? To turn our Black ideology, our Black principles, and understanding of our world and who we are as a people on this planet. They took it and they turned it into a homogenized ideal that supports the concept of white supremacy. Right? They've been using it ever since. And so yes, I went to Greece and basically told them that you like to reference musical artists and so forth. So who is that? Who said "Fear of the Black Planet"? Right?
Public Enemy.
Public Enemy. Yeah. Okay. So I'm referencing that. Okay.
No
The
doubt.
Fear of the Black Planet. So I went to the heart of the democracy of the planet and told them that they will not be free till Black people are free. Period.
Without a doubt. Yes. Let me ask you this, because of the fact that I know that and shout out to our comrade Deruba. I know that he just came back as well. We had him on the platform maybe a week or two ago, along with Ajamu and Ajamu Baraka and others. And one of the things that he talked about on his particular tour was solidarity. Did you have any of those talks out with some of the comrades out there?
Absolutely. I met comrades in Bulgaria. I met comrades from Ireland, right? The Irish Republic of Ireland. I met comrades in Greece. I met comrades in Peru. I met comrades in Mexico. I met comrades in Palestine, and we all shared our contact information. Right, and as a matter of fact, I was texting a comrade in Ireland the other day. Right, they're asking me, they might ask me to come over there and make a presentation. So we are building these kind of relations. It's important for us to build these kind of relations and to build international solidarity with our struggle. And the reason why, as I made mention to them, is because we are in the belly of the beast. We're in the belly of the beast, right? And so I also shared with them that in terms of the United States being an empire, we know through history, empires do not collapse on their own.
Right.
And do not collapse from external forces. External forces will weaken the empire, but to destroy the empire has to come from internally. History teaches that, right? It's when the people rise up against how they've been treated, right, by the system of governing, right, that the empires collapse, right, that they're destroyed, that they sit into the dustpan of history. And so in knowing that and understanding that, we know that in terms of this empire, when they feel that they have been threatened in terms of their existence, the brunt of the fascist brutality will be on us.
Right on.
We will face it. Right? We have to face it. Right? The brunt of fascist brutality, we're going to face it. And then for me, it's important that the international community knows that and come to our aid.
How's that received when you talk to folks about having a African-led liberation struggle, African-led liberation movement? Is that well received, or have you been met with resistance on that, or what's the response on that?
Well, the response has been, I've been invited to a couple more countries to also share their idea and share their thinking. Of course, they're skeptical because they only have their own self-interest involved. All revolutionary movements have their own self-interest involved, right? And so that's understood. All those groups that came to Greece, organization that came to Greece, and those who were testified or gave presentation, through Zoom, right? Well, they spoke about their own struggles and their own issues and the need for solidarity, right? And all of it's valid, okay? But there's only one group of persons, one group of people who have over the centuries survived the brunt of white supremacist terror, right? It's been Black people, right? And who else is best to lead the way in terms of our liberation or independence? Has to be Black people, right? We're on the bottom. We've been stepped upon and disrespected for centuries.
Footstools
for centuries for the planet. Come on now. Come on, let's come on. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to say, hey, yeah, it's time for us to be our own liberators. It's time for us to get up out of this mess, because they engage in genocide. They're killing us.
Right on.
Come on now. Right on. So this realization is scary to a lot of people, right? Again, like I said, our traumatization has become normal, right? And we feel at peace just knowing you can get up in the morning, right, and go to work and come back and be a wage slave. Right now, they're trying to close public schools across the country. Right, trying to privatize schools and create charter schools across the country. right? That means they're going to start increasing the numbers of people who's going to go into the penitentiary, right? The prison pipeline is real. They have to feed that beast,
right.
and they feed that beast with bodies. That's a multi-billion-dollar business.
Without a doubt.
Why is it? Because it's a slave system. It's not what I'm saying. That's what the law says.
That's what
the law says it's a slave system.
Right.
The amendment says it's a slave system. The Constitution says the penal system is a slave system. Rutherford versus Commonwealth, right? A precedent law, Supreme Court law that states emphatically that prisoners are slaves of the state. It's on the books.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And there are, at this point in time, there are 5 countries, 5 states who have now changed their constitution. Changed their constitution to take penal slavery out of the Constitution. New York is not one of them. California is not one of them. Right? And it's on the ballot in several states right now. Right? These constitutions in these states uphold the idea that slavery exists in America. Slavery and voluntary servitude. It's in the law. All right? So, listen what they did. And I just want to make this caveat, right? In 1865, when they ended chattel slavery, right, they told individual people, you can no longer hold people as slaves. That you can no longer hold people as property in 1865 with the 13th Amendment. But then what they did do, they said, well, there's money here. There's money here. So y'all can't do it, but the state can.
Right.
That's what they did.
Super gangster.
Super gangster, right? So they took it from the individuals and said, now we're going to take care of this, we're going to do this ourselves. Now it's under the rubric of the state.
Right.
Penal slavery. You see, it's a trick bag. It's trick bag. We got to understand it's trick bag here. We got to understand how this law, we got to understand language, how language is used.
No doubt.
And so for me, it's important, and for us, I would hope, right? It's important for us to understand the nature of our conditions, of second-class citizenship. Right? As that House Malik Shabazz said, second-class citizenship is no citizenship at all. Okay? Right. If you second-class with anything, then you less than.
Automatically.
Okay?
You come in the gate like that.
Come through the gate like that. Hold up.
Let me ask you this, because we talked about and I ain't gonna hold you too long since it's your birthday, but I told you I had an amount of time that I was gonna stick you up for. You know what I'm saying? So first of all, salute to all the folks that's checking us out here tonight. Make sure you share this very important, monumental program tonight, and it's monumental because of the fact that we're sitting here with a comrade who damn near served, not even damn near, he served the majority of his life inside of this same slave dungeon that we're talking about right now. You know what I'm saying? And he's out here and he's on the platform with us today. So we're absolutely happy to have him on. I want to ask you today, how important is organization? Because you talked about this manual that you put together. You talked about being a part of organizations, and we already know, as our comrade would be fond of saying, there's plenty of hashtag movements. How important is it to have on the ground movements here today in 2022?
Yeah, absolutely. Big ups to my comrade, Dura bin Wahab. The brother is a genius, right? The brother is sharp as a tack, right? And if anybody have an opportunity to sit down and talk to Duruba, then bring your notebook with you, right? Because you have to take some notes, all right? Because he's going to take you there, all right?
Definitely have to take some notes.
He's going to take you there. Take some notes, okay?
Yes.
We have to understand that the system of capitalist imperialism, right, white supremacy operates on the principles of divide and conquer, right? Divide and conquer, okay? They divide us, therefore they're able to conquer us based upon those divisions. Right. We also understand that the system of capitalism is based upon 2 principles, right? Competition and individualism. Competition, individual. Keep us individualized and keep us in competition with one another. Right? Again, that goes back to the idea of divide and conquer. Right? So what is the opposite of individualism and cooperation? individualism and competition. That is unity and cooperation. That's the opposite.
Right.
So we should be striving to do everything we possibly can to create the opposite of individualism and competition. We should be moving towards greater unity and greater cooperation amongst the various organizations, right? So therefore, when we talk about organizations, right, we need to become organized because the enemy is organized.
That's right.
Right? He's deliberate, intentional, and purposeful in what he does, right? And so therefore, we also have to be intentional, purposeful, and deliberate in what we do, right? And in order to do so, we have to become organized. And so therefore, we have to have organizations in order to do so. We have been subjected to conditions of disorganizing, right? To dismantling, as in one example, dismantling the Black family.
That's right.
Right? Has devastating impact on us. Devastating, because he took away the nuclear hole in our community for breaking up the Black family, right? It's deliberate, it's purposeful, because it weakens us. But what did that tell us? They've been doing that since 1619.
Without a doubt.
Right? When they brought us on slave ships and put us on auction blocks. And what did they do? They separated the Black family, right? Send the mamas over here, the children over here, and the fathers over there, right? Deliberately, purposefully. They're doing the same thing, right? They use the Black man against the Black woman, right? And then have the Black child against everybody.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's been abandoned. He's been absent of the kind of leadership and that he needs to have in the household, right? And so if the families is destroyed, if the families is disorganized, right? Then it's easy for them to displace us, gentrification, right? Easy to put us in areas of environmental racism and pollution. It's easy to have us put in conditions of mass incarceration, the school, the prison pipeline, right? It's easy for us to kill us with impunity, right? It's easy for them to deny the existence of political prisoners because they decide that they're actually a movement of resistance in this country.
Right on.
You see what I'm saying? Genocide. It's genocide. All right. So yes, we need to have organizations, and that's usually what I'm calling for: the building of the People's Senate. We are calling for Spirit of Mandela, building of the People's Senate, and I'm calling for the organizing of the Frolinan, Front for the Liberation of the African Nation. Right now, also in my presentation in Greece, I made mention that there's a group here in Turtle Island, Black people, right, who's part of the I think the African UN African Decade of Africans in Diaspora, right, support group, right? And what they're doing, they're putting together a petition to submit to the United Nations to declare that the Black Belt South is a traditional homeland of Black people, African people in this country, right? They're raising that question into the international community, right? Stating that we want the international community to recognize our struggle and recognize that the Black Belt South is a traditional homeland of Black people in this country, right? That's extremely important. It's important. It's an important step going forward in terms of introducing to the international community that we are declaring that we have territory that is traditionally ours, right? Based upon where the majority of Black people still lives, Black Belt South, right? And they have lived for the last 400 years in the Black Belt South. So why not? Why not declare that those territories, right, is the national traditional homeland of Black people in Turtle Island? Yes. So that's what I explained that to in my presentation in Greece, right? And these comrades are working on that today to submit to the United Nations a petition informing the international world that we are declaring the Black Belt South to be our national traditional homeland here in Turtle Island. It's important.
Well, listen, man, we always, I mean, we can go on and on and on. And, you know, I want to say definitely, you know, again, we appreciate you joining us on your second birthday since you've been out. You know what I'm saying? That's a wonderful thing, because I know if I was you, I probably wouldn't want to be talking to me on my birthday. And I love me. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother. But it's important for Black people to love themselves.
No doubt.
Right?
No
it's
doubt.
Extremely important. We gotta have love for ourselves.
To express that love too, man. I was like, man, you know, I found out it was your born date. Shout out to my man Raphael Outlander for you know, for schooling us on what was what, man, because you know, I feel older than you sometime. You know what I'm saying? So I called on a few of the comrades to join me and hoping that we can commemorate your born date together. So I'm gonna have them hop on the screen with us real quick, if that's all right with you.
Oh man, come on. Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. No, that's not fair. That ain't cool at all. That ain't cool, man.
Hey man, come on, man. You know what we do around here.
Okay.
The Ruba and Jihad, unmute yourselves, brothers. You know what I'm saying?
But, okay, I got that. Wow. That's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Yeah. The Ruba, you still muted, bro.
That's a beautiful thing. I think my comrades, assalamu alaikum, peace. All y'all.
All right, power to the people. Congratulations on your born day, man. You survived this long, black man.
I know, man. Right. That's right.
Wa alaikum salam.
To be the one, you gotta be a survivor.
Congratulations on your born day, man. You survived this long, man.
That's what it means.
Happy birthday, Jalil. We made a commitment that we're going to try our best to catch up with Deruba. You know, I don't know. It seemed like we can't seem to do it age-wise. It seemed like it's mathematically clocked in that we'll never go to.
I got you. MGJ.
Hey, how you doing, my brother? Happy birthday for Rahaku Saliwa.
Thank you, my sister. That's the people's attorney, everybody. Nobody don't know. You should know now. That's the people's attorney. She holds us down for certain. That's right. Hold us down.
Is Deruba the elder on here now?
Yeah, you're the oldest.
She needs no introduction. And Kiji.
Hey, who's that?
Right on.
Man. It's good to see you guys, man. Jihad and Kichi. Hey, Kichi, I gotta tell you, I got a vignette to tell you, but I gotta tell you that in private.
And that white, but he is the oldest.
but you know,
well, what you want to say? What is it?
It was about your homies on reparations that came to Ghana while I was there.
Oh Lord, yeah, no, let's talk offline.
No, that's we gonna say that for another time.
Anyway,
I wasn't invited to that.
I know you wasn't invited. That's why I'm going to talk to you about it. Yeah, I'll talk to you about it. But this is we came on to wish our comrade a happy birthday. This is the second one since he came out of the dungeons. And when Kalanji told me that we was gonna sneak on and hit him when he finished, I said, yeah, that's a good idea. So he reached out. He got Ashanti. I ain't seen Ashanti since 1922, but he don't even return calls no more. And Jihad, I think the last time I saw Jihad was in Geneva.
Well, you can recognize Ashanti by the head. You notice the
y'all colder than white man.
All of you all, each one of you all were in prison when Brother Jalil first came out with Frolinan, but I remember it.
Listen, my brother said it was knowledge not.
You, who was not?
Knowledge not.
I can't see who's talking. Who said they were not?
Who said they was not?
Okay,
what?
I thought. I'm presuming that all of you all were locked down. What year did that come out?
You broke up a little bit, so I didn't catch.
Originally came out in 1996, I think it was.
Oh, really? That didn't come out in the 80s?
No, yeah, it was the 80s. Yeah, New African Liberation Front. That's where we first started. With
Well, you know,
yeah.
Jalil has to upgrade his analysis from 1.5 to 2.0. But so that's why we in this time warp. We in this time warp where you see you even thought I thought it came out in the 70s.
Well, you know, he had a lot of stuff coming out, but he kind of didn't just like put it all together, I guess, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I'm glad. Shout out to you, Kalanji, for getting the comrade on. You know, I wanted you to hit him up soon as he got back from Europe, so we could see about how best to link up stuff and get it going. You know, there's a lot of work that we got to do. Everybody here knows that, and so I just felt really honored to be able to wish him a happy birthday. Although we belated, because Tanakil, who just went out, she told me that Jalil's birthday was actually yesterday.
No, it's today.
You know,
today the 18th.
It's the 18th.
18th, bro.
Well, yeah. All right. Cool.
Get it, man. Get it, man.
Tanakil told me it was the 17th.
No,
You know, and I insisted it was the 18th, but you know how insisting stuff with Tanakil is a no go Fargo.
Love it to death. Yes. She'll stick to her guns. That's right. Till she run out of bullets. No doubt about it.
Yeah, that's my life coach.
So check it. What I would like to do before we tap out is, if it's okay with all of you, for each one of you to go around and give the brother his salute. Maybe share something with us or whatever. A memory or whatever.
Let me say one thing. Ashanti, last time y'all had him on, he did a brilliant job of explaining the issues of the Black Liberation Army and the Black Panther Party, particularly on the East Coast. Now, you did an excellent job there, and I salute you, Ashanti, for how you handled that. That was an excellent job, bro.
Right on.
No doubt. So is that his way to get out of this roast I was just talking about, or what?
I'm trying.
That's the oldest trick in the book, Jalil.
Try to ease the pain.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with Ashanti since you just finished rubbing his back. I think Ashanti got a slight delay.
No, Ashanti's faking, man. He's fake. Ain't nothing wrong with his mind.
Man, we got.
See, I told you.
I don't even know if I can share, but I tell you what. I got. Okay. No.
Maybe it's best we didn't hear.
I remember certain things where we was hoping to be free a long time ago. Very precious memory, even though it wasn't successful. Very precious memory. And then and we had the stand here, and the sacrifices you made. Then I was like, oh my God, this man ain't gonna make it out. Die hard, you know. But then you're out. And you hit the road.
Jalil, you know I love you.
You hit the road.
Happy birthday, bro.
I think you're talking over Ashanti. He was talking.
You know, I don't know why you don't look as old as us, you know, but I know you hit the road running, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be able to do this with you on your birthday.
This is Hannah and Just for Men.
And let's do it again. I'll keep it brief.
I don't like gray hair, bro. I'm gonna tell you straight up. I don't like it. That's my own. That's my own. What do you call it? Vanity. That's my own vanity. You know what I'm saying? I'll own that. I'll own that. Okay. I don't like gray hair. So y'all go ahead and turn gray if y'all want to. I ain't going.
So good. I'm gonna we're gonna take it to Deruba and Tanakil real quick, and then we're gonna come back around to Nkichi and Jihad, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's good. Let me. Where is my stuff?
Up there. Yeah, you passed.
You already on, man. We can hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Can you? Yeah, you can hear me, but you can't hear Tanaka. Let me put it on.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
hear.
here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard it. Talking about
Let me see.
I'm 80 something years
Oh,
old.
I'm muted. Can you hear
No,
me?
you're not muted. We hear you, man.
Yes, we hear you.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we got
Okay,
Daruba on the tech
so
today.
Tanaka wanted. Can you hit Tanaka? Tanaka,
Hey, bro. You know I love you, Jalil. Happy belated. It's good to see you. I see you, Ashanti. I see you, and Kichi. Who's that? Jihad? What's up,
That's
sister?
J-
I haven't
yeah,
seen
that's-
you
I'm
forever.
cooking.
And Kichi, I haven't seen you forever.
I know, forever and ever.
What
We need
happened?
to
Why can't I
change
get
that.
what's going
Oh, I
on?
can't hear anybody. He's just like on some cuckoo-ness with
This
the
thing is off. That's
yeah.
why.
We hear
he's
you.
on some- Oh, here we go.
I'm sorry. My bad.
What's up, y'all?
Hey,
What?
Tanaka.
What?
Today is my birthday.
I
It
told.
is?
I told you. I told
Why
you.
do I have the 17th down as your birthday?
Because you remember everything.
No, because I guess because I wanted it to be your birthday. Because when you got out to join and we came up there to celebrate with you in Rochester, I was like, "Oh, it's the 17th. Let me put that in my calendar." My bad. So why you say you don't celebrate your birthday, bro? That is a day to celebrate. Anytime a warrior is born, it's time to celebrate.
Absolutely.
Don't tell Billy
I
that.
appreciate that. But under the Islamic tradition, we don't celebrate birthdays, right? Because we recognize that every day is a birthday, right? By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's gift to us and giving us life, right? And therefore, we celebrate as warriors, right? The day that we leave this planet, right? That's what we celebrate. The day that Allah take us back. That's what we celebrate, right? So we don't celebrate birthdays, and you know. So that's the reason. That's the reason why I don't.
Okay, time I see you on your birthday, I'm gonna act like it's just another day. And you know I'm not, so stop fucking with me. Alright?
So, yeah, man. So I told you. I told her it was the 18th, but she browbeat me into the 17th. But it's all good.
You know how Daruba's always trying to act like a Vic, which he's not, okay? It's very few people can keep this motherfucker in check, and I'm one of them, okay?
Amen.
Yeah.
Who said that? Amen. Who said that?
The dude that cost some lumps because
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So y'all know what it is. You know, it's hard. You know, we got. You know, it's hard to keep D in check, but this ain't about D. This is about Jalil, his trip to Greece, and continuing to do the work and coming out to joint. And what he said when I used to visit him in the joint is he ain't gonna miss a beat, and he hasn't missed a beat. You know, and he's been working and doing his thing, and you know, I'm really I can't even express how I feel about him.
Thank you, sis.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Right on. So we'll let him catch words real quick, and we have some other folks coming on as well.
I'm just going to be real brief because I'm just leave this to, you know, the brothers and all. But I just want to say that Brother Mario Bedelli, I know, will be smiling down from the ancestral realm right now. Just seeing this, seeing you, seeing the other folk on here. I'm just telling you, he will be smiling. Right. You just don't know from ear to ear from the ancestral realm. So I just want to say, I'm so very glad you're home. Happy birthday, Faraha Kusaliwa, and all that. And, you know, keep on doing everything that you've been doing for decades upon decades. You just taking this stuff to another level because you're here in minimal security as opposed to maximum security.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate it. I love you too. I love you too. Jad, you got a few words for us?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Assalamu alaikum and happy birthday, comrade. I guess my direct interaction with Jalil started when I became co-chair of Jericho. It's around 2009, and And so now that's 19. That's about 13 years. He's been bossing me around, telling me what to do. Man, you got to give me a paycheck. He sent me so many letters from prison about what to do. I'm saying, wait a minute, this brother here. But I got the opportunity. My wife and I got a chance to visit him. I visit once, and then I visit him with Kazi, and then one time with Ann Lamb and Ann Jaffe. So I got a chance to see Jalil in prison. I remember when we went to Attica, that was a very painful visit, because it was so oppressive there. And they made you leave to sit on the other side of the visiting room for about a good, 15, 20 minutes before anybody left. So now we're at one side. Well, what's all that about? And just looking at you there, so it was such a profound victory for you to come home, brother. You never stopped struggling since I've been hearing about you in Deruba, when we first got way back in the 70s, and to meet you comrades in person, in the interaction I have. You've always been our heroes. Deruba, I still have cards that you sent me from Africa. I still had them when I was in prison. You may not even remember yourself, but I treasure that. I really do. And I know, and I'm honored and grateful to say that as soldiers, one soldier to another, to others rather, that we respect each other in high regard to the point where we can disagree and be in full unity with one another. So that's for everybody. And Sister Nkechi, I'll be hooking up with you tomorrow, and I'll be looking forward to that. And it was a very honor of having that tribunal led by a very proud, strong, profoundly strong Black woman. So happy birthday, Jalil, and assalamu alaikum to everyone.
Walaikum assalam, my brother.
Yeah, we got one more guest on here that just tapped in.
Who's that? Let's say cool.
Hey, cool.
Yeah, that's true. Peace, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Power to the people. Free the land. I just wanted to come on and say happy birthday to my brother. I gave him my birthday greetings earlier. In fact, I sung him a song.
Yeah. I ain't gonna get glass in my ears when we got finished.
Birthday. Happy birthday. Anyhow, I'm glad you're out here for us to be able to wish you a happy birthday. I wish I was there so I could give you a hug and shake your hand and tell you I love you.
That's right, brother.
I'm glad that at least we're here able to see you, and you out here. We know you out here with us, Power to you. Power to all of us. Power to
all of us. Well, I wouldn't be out here if it wasn't for the people.
Yeah.
People fought for me to be out here.
I mean?
When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win.
That's right.
We win. We have to fight.
We had a couple other people that wanted to make it. They couldn't make it today, so they wanted to shout you out. Laura Whitehorn told me to give you the birthday greetings. She said her and your secret sister Susie Day wanted to wish you happy birthday, and also
we both on the same day.
Yeah, and also Dr. Joy James sends her birthday wishes as well. So,
beautiful.
Beautiful.
This is special. I wasn't expecting this. Kalanji, you say Raphael did this? Okay, I'm gonna see Raphael. I'm gonna see Raphael on the pool table. I'm gonna the pool table. That's what I'm gonna do.
He texted me earlier. He was like, he said, I wanted to remind you that it was Jalil's born date today. So I was like, man, he didn't even say nothing about it. So I was like, let me I reached out to Deruba and Sekou and Ashanti and Jihad and sent Nkechi an email, and we here. And I'm grateful for them because I respect everyone on the screen. It's wonderful to be a part of it myself. So thank you all.
I appreciate you. I appreciate all. I got love all of my comrades. Got much love for them. All right, we come from a tradition where we're prepared to sacrifice for our comrades. But we're supposed to do that. Right? And it's that kind of love, kind of determination that we had back then when we were in our youth, right? And it's carried us forward in our graying age, our graying age. As you see, most of these guys, most of these people out there got gray hairs now. You know, I'm not there yet, so I'm cool. But so that graying age, right? so it's extremely important that we understand how much love is being shared here at this point, and what that love actually, what it really means for our people, right? This shows our people what it really means, right? To have this kind of self-sacrificing love for one another, and understanding that we are prepared. We're prepared to do what we must do, as Al-Haj Malik Shabazz stated, by any means necessary, right? To win the liberation and the freedom of our people.
No doubt. So with that in mind, we're gonna tap out. We're not gonna hold you up all night, but definitely we appreciate all the comrades coming on deck. And if you all want to have any words for the comrade, feel free.
I gotta get out of here too. But I just want to say, Jalil, it's really good to talk to you. It's second year out, man. It's a lot of folks can't understand the bond that a lot of us comrades shared from a long time ago. I was looking at some pictures with Comrade Blood and comrades from 21 today. And so it brought back memories, man. You know, in jihad, I do remember sending the postcards, because one of the things I had vowed to do when I was traveling around Europe, speaking and things, I wanted to send all the comrades in jail, in the prisons, a card from every location I went to, so that they could know that they were with me, that I wasn't just traveling by myself. And it brought back memories of Comrade Noah, you know, because I seen him the week before he died. I was surprised they let me in the prison because he was terminal. I guess they did that. And one of the things he mentioned was the postcards, how he had them up in the cell. And I just broke down and cried like a baby, man, because, you know, I didn't, you know, I wanted y'all to be with me, you know, and let you know that y'all was with me. So I really appreciate you holding on to those, Jihad. I really, really do, man. So I don't want to get all sentimental and shit. You know, but yeah.
Well, then don't.
That sounds like the ear doctor or something. Okay. That's the general. You know, and he's another one, man. You know, I was, you know, when he got out, man, after we went to Geneva Jihad, you know, and that presentation that was done, well, you know that it was powerful. That rebuttal we did, and I think to this day, some of the folks that was on the staff in the committee said that the impact it had on the U.S. Seems to shake them up a little bit. And just sure enough, a few months later after that, Sekou got out, you know, and then I saw Sundiata and Herman, and man, you know, a lot of us thought we would never live this long to see all of this, but you know, it's.
So let me just say this, Deruba, when you came out, we had a welcome home for you in DC. DC welcome home in my home. Sekou, when you came out, we had a DC welcome home for you at my home. Jalil, you waiting on that? You got to do that. Sundiata, when he comes. Jihad, you've been around and all like that. Ashanti, I know Safia back in the day, you know, I was there, but Jalil, you happened. I don't know. I ain't seen you in DC. We gotta hook something up, and I don't know what Sundiata's situation is right now with travel, but DC is waiting with open arms for folk, you know.
All right, sis. I'll put it on my calendar, no doubt about it. I gotta make a trip. I went through DC, you know, went through the airport, you know, and transfer from one place to another. But yeah, I have to figure out some kind of way how to make a stop by, no doubt about it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate you all coming on last minute, because, you know, all of you got notice after probably 3 p.m. today. So I want to definitely, salute you all. I didn't know if Ashanti was coming on or what. He just sent me a thumbs up. So I didn't know what that meant. You know what I'm saying? But, it was good that, that you all stopped through, man. Really appreciate you all. Revolutionary love.
Short on words and long on deeds.
Hey, let it do what it do. But anyway, right, man, y'all stay on point. Stay free. And we're going to win in spite of ourselves.
Right. Love y'all.
Thank you. Power to the people.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
From all. Checking out Riot Starter TV. This right here, for some of you might have just saw a bunch of people on the screen and not knew what was going on.
Oh, wow.
But those are some legends, some folks that we really honor and admire. Many of them that were on the screens are folks that I grew up checking out myself, and to be on the screen allow me to say myself that it is an honor for me to even have these good folks on the platform and the program. So definitely salute to you all for checking us out and staying here this long. Again, today was or is Jalil Muntaqim's born date, and of course it's his second birthday since being out after being locked up for 49 years. So again, spread this, share this, continue to support the work that we're doing here at Black Power Media. Shout out to all the folks in the chat. Rosa Clemente, I see you. Shout out to the entire remixers, all the folks who are normally here, Kill and all these other folks who I don't see too much, but I know that's out here fighting on behalf of us and working to do what's right. We appreciate you. Make sure you stay tuned. Check out our work. Like I said, Black Power Media, Riot Starter TV. I have a new show also for folks who don't know, with Professor Griffin, Public Enemy, and LT, called Arm the Masses. Make sure you go to Arm the Masses TV, which is also on YouTube, and subscribe to that channel as well. We will be doing bi-weekly podcasts on that particular joint. Again, revolutionary love, stay on the right side of the barricades, and as Jalil just finished saying, we are our own liberators. All right, y'all, salute, we out of here.